Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I'm broadcasting live from the beautiful and exciting New York City this evening. I am so very excited to have one of my favorite people on the planet and sponsor of Money Talk with Melanie, actually the very first sponsor of Money Talk with Melanie, Eva Rosenberg, on the show, aka the Taxmama. And I know you all are very surprised, probably like, oh my gosh, she's here. Hi, Gina. Gina is in the Facey chat. I'm so excited that Taxmama is here, and Doug Poss is probably surprised to see me. He's been promoting archive shows all day. Hello, Connie and Chuck, but Eva Rosenberg is here, and she is in the Facey chat. She's going to talk to us about the Trump tax plan, her new book that's coming out. She's going to talk to us about her school. I am super, super duper excited. Yes, surprise, gang. Listen, I thought that I just had it all together, had all my planning and promotion and everything all together today. And it turns out that I did not. As usual, as per usual. I did not. But Eva Rosenberg is a complete rock star. And I lost my camera. So see this like weird camera angle? First of all, this is New York City. So every building, the cool thing about New York City, I look fabulous. I was told... Thank you, Robert Houston, who is also a Money Talk with Melanie sponsor. Credit Repair, MrCreditRepair.biz, a Money Talk with Melanie sponsor. Can I tell you, I've been told twice within the last hour. You guys are going to blow my head up that I'm pretty. The bellman told me. I gave him his tip. He brought my bag up, and I gave him his tip, and he's like, one more thing. And I was like, yes. He's like, I just have to tell you, you're really beautiful. I was like, well, thanks. Thank you, Eva. And then the Lyft guy told me that when my picture popped up, this is actually a really funny story. The Lyft guy told me, apparently when the ride comes up, your picture comes up. And the Lyft guy was, I don't know where he was from, but he had a heavy accent. And apparently there was a white dude sitting in the front. And he said, I learned a lesson today. And I was like, well, why is that? And he said, well, when your picture came up, there was a white man sitting next to me. And when your picture came up, he said you were hot. He said, and I just never heard of a white man saying that a black woman was hot. And I was like, well, you must be new here because my ex-husband was white. So that's not new to me. But I thought that was a funny story because he probably was from some part of Africa, I assume, based on his accent. But I thought that was hilarious that he thought that was new. But anyway. You guys are going to blow my head up, but I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, I'm in beautiful New York City this weekend, doing up to some political shenanigans, which I'll tell you guys about tomorrow. I've had an extraordinarily rough. I'm just, guys. I'm a walking. What's the word? Everything about my life is just contrary, or is in opposites. Like everything that I try to do seems to be contrary to the norm, and I don't know why that is. Like I'm the last person on the face of the earth to call something racist, but the moment that I do, it's like no one believes me. It's the most bizarre, like weird thing. So I was in a meeting a few days ago. And someone said something that I felt was very racially insensitive. And those of you who know me well know that I'm the last person to say, hey, that's racially insensitive. And I did. And I got in like all this trouble. Which is crazy. Eva, you guys are going to help me get back in balance. This is why I need my audience. And what's crazy is, this particular organization, all I was thinking about is all these ways that I can help them and how my melanin was going to contribute to that, which is the polar opposite of the way I typically think. And clearly, we were not aligned, as the alternate lifers would say, we were not aligned. Apparently, not aligned. Not thinking along the same path at all, which is unfortunate, but I don't, but this is because I don't understand that line of thinking at all. I don't. Anyway, so it's just been exhausting. And I was like, well, you just wanted me to be a token. You should have said that's what it was, and I wouldn't have wasted my time. Doug said, not with me. Don't think I saw. No, I haven't done, I haven't been talking about it because it's just not appropriate at this time. But you guys know I will. At some point. Well, listen, I've played that role. Hello, Alistair. Hello, Teddy Lee. Listen, sometimes I know when that's the situation and I do what I have to do to my advantage and then I move on. But usually, like, the situation is such that I'm very well aware of that. And there are many of us well-melanated folks who know that in order to operate in this world, that there are some times when you need to do that. And then you do the minimum. You get what you need to get and you move on. But, you know, if you're going to blow smoke up my keister and tell me that you really want me here because, you know, my opinion is valuable and that, you know, you're all about, you know, being inclusive and this, that, and the other. But then the moment I say something and voice my opinion based on, by the way, years of experience of being one of only, you know, literally every organization I'm involved in, all of my adult life, I've been, you know, one of maybe 5 people with melanin in the organization. That's been my entire life. And I've been fine with it. I know how to navigate it very well. It's literally never been a problem until now. And that's cool. But usually, like, I can feel the vibe. This is the first time where it's been an issue where I didn't know up front what the situation was going to be. And, you know, now it's very possible, and this is not to toot my own horn or to whatever, it's very possible that I'm at a point in my career where I'm a little bit too, for lack of a better expression, successful to where that's not going to work anymore. Where I'm a little too high exposure to where that's not going, where I can't do that anymore. You know, I have 3 years into my doctorate. I'm high exposure in media. Like I can't pull that off. I'm in a situation where I might be an actual threat. So that could be part of the problem too. So, you know, it's a little bit easier to be a token when you don't have a lot of successes behind you and you don't have a lot of connections and that kind of thing. And that's not the situation anymore. So that could also be part of it. I have to consider that. Okay, we got to take a quick break. You guys are going to hear Eva Rosenberg commercial. I can't wait till she comes back. Okay, super. We're going to take a quick commercial break or listen to the ambulance. It took me a long time to learn how to pronounce that word. I used to say ambulance because we're in New York City, y'all. We'll be right back in a few minutes. I'm going to let that pass because I want to make sure you hear her ad. Here we go.
Making a living can be tough these days with so many jobs going overseas. If you love numbers and puzzles and want job security, you can become a tax specialist with an amazing 6-month tax course from Taxmama. Operate your own tax practice locally or anywhere in the world where there are American taxpayers. It's a great way to write off your trips to visit family for months at a time. Everything you need to pass the IRS 3 special enrollment examinations is included in this course. Visit irsexams.school. And if you need more than 6 months, that's okay. Take your time. You're in the course until you pass the exams or until you unsubscribe and reject Taxmama's emails.
Right now, you can get the credit you deserve. Just visit MrCreditRepair.biz. Let their expert credit repair specialists remove late payments, charge-offs, collections, even old bankruptcies fast and easy. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Why go anyplace else? Increase your credit score today. At Mr. Credit, you always get a quality service, all at our everyday discounted price. Stop getting turned down for cars, credit cards, or even new homes. Visit MrCreditRepair.biz today. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Your credit repair is our #1 priority.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I am very, very excited about tonight's guest. I mean, I'm always excited about all of my guests, but I am particularly excited about tonight's guest, who is the one, the only, Eva Rosenberg. There's no way in the world that Money Talk with Melanie listeners do not know who she is, because she is the number one sponsor, first sponsor of Money Talk with Melanie. Without further ado, the one and only Ms. Eva Rosenberg, the Tax Mama. How are you?
Totally amused and entertained. It's great to hear your voice.
Man, it is great to hear your voice. I have had one heck of a week, so I'm so glad that you're my guest tonight. I'm so glad I'm interviewing a friendly this evening.
Oh, God, Abby, can you imagine? We can be here, we can have fun, we don't need to push anything, we can just see what people want to know about, or we can play.
I love it. I love it. So I want people in the audience, those of you in the Facey chat, you can go to Taxmama.com and ask questions for free, but you have her live here on Money Talk with Melanie. So if you have any tax questions, I would ask, put them in the Facey chat. Have any? Ask your questions tonight. It's a good time to ask the Tax Mama any questions you might have. But in the meantime, let's talk about, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about your school? You want to talk about the Trump tax plan? You want to tell anyone who's not familiar with you?
I am so not good at selling myself. So let's talk about things that are actually important. Like, finally, today, the IRS issued the mileage numbers for 2019.
Oh, okay.
So we do this in October, and I teach all of my classes at CCH and everything else, like you're teaching, and I have current information. This year I've been getting bits and pieces. So today, the mileage information, I quickly put up a tax tip on Taxmama.com with that information. I haven't done the newsletter, but it is now going to be 58 cents a mile for business miles for next year, up from 54.5 cents.
Very nice.
Yeah. Now, there's two things I got to warn you about on that. And in IRS's little announcement today, they did make a point of telling people that this doesn't apply to people who are employed because they can't take any deductions anymore.
Hey.
So it only applies to people who have businesses. So if you're an employee and you've been using $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 worth of expenses you're paying for out of pocket, those are gone.
Ooh.
And we can talk about how to fix that later. But the other thing about depreciation is a lot of people who use that on their business vehicles don't realize it includes depreciation. And so when you go sell the car and you think, I've used mileage this whole time, so I don't have to worry about reducing my basis, got news for you. You've probably reduced the basis completely, because this year it's 26 cents a mile. Last year it was 25. And if you're driving a lot of miles, you've probably zeroed out the value of your car. So when you sell it or trade it in, you have a profit. And the other bad news about that, you can't trade the car in anymore. Now you have to treat it like a sale and a purchase. So that's another thing our generous legislators gave to us.
Oh, I'm not liking any of this. You're supposed to come bearing like all kinds of awesome news, Tax Mama. This is not.
Yeah. Well, the awesome part is we've got a number. It's 58 cents. So we've got that awesome thing. I actually put together a bunch of tax tips that people can still do before the end of the year. So literally, if you guys go to Taxmama.com, you can go through them. There are links to everything that I've recommended. So I don't have to read them to you because, you're adults and you can do that yourself and not be bored.
I like that. I did already post it. I posted the site in the Facey chat, and I'm sure I will post it again. And I will make sure when I post this podcast, I'll make sure that I post it in the podcast so they can reach it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Please,
for sure.
Seriously. on Taxmama.com, that is really my giving back to the community. So I don't really try to push, try to have people pay for anything. I really do answer for free. Honest to God, I answer for free. So if people have questions, post them before you do stupid things, because they say there's no such thing as a stupid question, Melanie. There is.
I was about to say, I'm a teacher. Trust me, there is.
Yeah, the question you ask after you've done it.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah. Well, what is Doug? Now, Doug is asking, how about if I get a Braun disability vehicle to do lift-type service? Now, I don't know what a Braun disability vehicle, but it sounds to me like it's a vehicle he's talking about that's appointed to pick up people in wheelchairs and stuff, which is a great idea. And you want to sit down and run the numbers to see if you're better off using mileage or actual expenses, because I bet that vehicle doesn't get better than 10 cents a mile. Mm-hmm. You might be better off with actual expenses.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point, and that's a great question.
Some good news. They raised the depreciation levels for cars, so now it's not writing off the over the first 5 years, writing off $15,000. Now you get to write off almost $40,000 in the first 5 years. They finally entered last century. they're catching up to us a little.
That's the government for you, though. I mean, that
is our elected officials. There you are, normally in Washington.
Oh my goodness!
You can talk to these people.
No, that's true. That's true. It just gives you I don't know how, you must really love numbers and you must really love what you do, because there's no other way that you can do this with such enthusiasm and fervor that you do. I mean, you can hear the joy in your voice when you're talking about it.
Well, you know what? You want to hear some other good news?
Yes.
For you guys in Washington, and it hasn't been really covered in the media. We have a new IRS commissioner.
I haven't heard that.
We actually have. Yeah, see, nobody knows. We actually have Chuck Reddick, otherwise formally known as Charles Reddick, but he doesn't go by that. And he's the new IRS commissioner, and everybody inside the IRS is jazzed. He is amazing. He was a tax attorney here in L.A. for like 30 years on the side of the people. He knows how to take care of us. He knows what kind of problems we've run into. And he is probably the only person who has ever been qualified to be IRS commissioner. I am thrilled.
So what I hear you saying is that the business guy in the White House actually considered a person's background when he hired them for a job, as opposed to just like making a political appointment.
Somehow, by accident, we got the absolute right guy in the office, and hopefully it's not one of those revolving doors this time. I think he's going to stay for a while.
Oh, I hope so. I don't know if you caught this question in the Facey chat. There's another one. John Campbell, who is a co-sponsor with you, Eva, asked. He said he drives 60 miles a day back and forth to a job. Can he use that as a tax deduction?
Well, first of all, John, it's a job. And commuting mileage is never deductible going back and forth to a job. Second of all, since it's a job and you're an employee, you can't deduct your employee business expenses anymore, even if you could use them. So,
that's
The answer
interesting.
is no.
So you said,
I'm sorry.
Wait, so you can't deduct your employee business expenses?
Yeah, I did a workshop last week. A webinar that was kind of a special webinar for people who have been employees and had 20, 30, 50,000 of business expenses they can't write off anymore, or for employers who have employees in that situation. And I worked out a template on how to do a proposal to your boss, or vice versa, to your employee, to reduce the wages and replace them with reimbursements, and how much money it would save each of them, so that they could actually get a tax benefit for all of this money they're spending that they are losing now. They are absolutely losing that tax benefit. And when I did that, I researched how many Form 2106s, that's the employee business deduction form, how many 2106 forms had been filed. The latest statistics in 2016, for those who love numbers, over 12 million people filed these forms who now can't take deductions. That pisses me off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should piss everybody off.
And then Doug is asking if John were self-employed, could he take the deduction? Not if it's commuting. So if he's going back and forth from home to office, it's still commuting. If he's self-employed and he goes from the office to the post office down the block from him, and then goes from home to the post office, then to the office, now he's turned it into business mileage. Or if he goes to a client and drives to the client, now that's business mileage. So you can manipulate, but you have to actually keep records and do the manipulation of the mileage and the trips to turn commuting into business miles.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking that, because I feel like that's what a lot of people do. Like, I feel like there's creative ways to, like you said, manipulate the mileage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make a phone call to a client on your way to work.
No.
I'm
You've
just
got to
kidding.
drive somewhere.
Right.
You've got to drive somewhere.
Okay,
right?
so you
not
have
the phone
to.
Call,
Gotta
sitting
drive.
in the car, making phone calls while you're driving, and saying, "Okay, it's a business
Doesn't
trip."
count.
Means you're an imbecile. You're endangering everyone around you,
Okay, that's
and
true.
yourself. And it's not business miles.
That's true. That makes sense. Okay, so you have to physically drive to someplace. That's the only way it counts. Okay, got it. That's good to know.
Yeah, and it really, I have to interject about the driving thing. Before I ever got a driver's license, when I was young and cute, I used to be the dispatcher for the police tow, for the police impound yard, and have all these cops hanging around, and we would pick up the results of accidents. And it was so long ago, they didn't even have cell phones. But people would do multiple things while they were driving, and so even before I ever had a license, I saw what distracted driving can do. So I am very much an advocate of people focus on what you're doing when you're in the car.
You mean like just
even regardless of Bluetooth?
But driving is so boring. You need other activities. Like
driving is only boring until the person in front of you stops suddenly, or somebody on your right cuts right in front of you, and you weren't watching and can't react fast enough.
Doug,
then it gets exciting.
Doug, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it is. Which is why I listen to books on tape when we're driving, because it doesn't require my concentration.
This is true. When I had a long commute, I used to get bored. I didn't do other things, but I did get bored, and that's when I did a lot of thinking when I had a long commute. Now my commute's really short, so it's good.
Really, and so what did you think up? Were you more calm and
actually
bored out of your mind?
No, actually I was bored, and it actually gave me an opportunity to either become more angry or more anxious about where I was going.
Yeah, not good.
No.
When you're alone and you keep running things through your mind in a circle, you just work yourself up. Even when you look like you're talking to yourself, at least sing or listen to a book.
Right. Sometimes I sing.
Good.
John listens to Money Talk with Melanie on his commute. Wisely listens to Money Talk with Melanie.
And John, what a genius, John.
I do. My commute is really quick now. Actually, today was the longest I've driven in a very long time. I'm exhausted.
Oh no! How far did you? Well, you drove from where? From Detroit?
No, I only drove to the train station, but I live in no man's land. So it was an hour and 15-minute drive to the nearest train station to take me to New York City because I live in the boondocks. So,
wow.
Well, listen, where I live, they don't even deliver Chinese food. Literally. They don't.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, my commute, and I can talk to myself on mine, my commute is like 20 feet, and I hardly ever run into anybody.
That used to be that hour and 20 minutes used to be my commute one way to work.
Yeah.
Now it's only 4 minutes. But I think that's probably about to go away.
And that's another thing. Move closer to where you work. Find a way to move closer to where you work, or to get approval to do it, remotely.
Yes.
So much of what we can do remotely, except where they're expecting you to show up in front of your class. They don't really want to see you on a screen.
They do. Yeah, they definitely do. Okay, so let's before we go to the break, I want to talk a little bit about your class. You can become. Why didn't I think of this? How come I'm not an agent?
An enrolled agent?
Yeah, why am I not?
An enrolled agent. Because you hate numbers.
I don't hate numbers. I like numbers. Why am I not an enrolled agent?
They're your best friends, so we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we should chat about that. But let's talk. I'm like, why am I not an enrolled agent? Come to think about it.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's find out why.
Yeah, we should talk about that. But that's a brilliant idea. Anyway, let's talk about becoming an enrolled agent, which I've been talking about on my Facebook page. I've been running the ad. What is an enrolled agent, and why would someone want to become one?
Do you want to do that now or after your commercial?
No, well, we have like 5 more minutes. Actually, we have 10 more minutes.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
Wow! Oh, in that case.
Yeah, talk away.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Why would you want to become an enrolled agent?
Yes.
If you've got a good job and a good career and you're going to be doing it long term, stay with what you've got because you're just fine. But there are a lot of people who have taken positions these days that are they're getting underpaid after they've lost their larger jobs and so forth, and are trying to string together 2 or 3 jobs. Or they've retired and they're bored out of their minds because, the wonderful retirement time is not as exciting as they had hoped. Or they just need some extra money. So those are some reasons you want another job. Why this one? Because if you learn to do tax returns, if you learn to represent clients and stand up for them before the IRS, you can do this on your own time. You can do it around another job. It's an ethical position, and even for existing tax professionals, it raises the level of esteem that people have for you because this is the highest credential that the IRS issues in the tax world. People who have learned to become enrolled agents know a lot about taxes. They are, in fact, called the nation's tax experts. And there are 3 exams you've got to pass, or you have to work for the IRS for 5 years in certain positions. But the people who've actually passed those exams had to know a lot about tax. But for you, with your PhD, with your doctorate, you don't even need a degree. There are a lot of people who have learned so much from life and their experiences, don't want to go back to college for 3 or 4 years. You don't need a degree. You just need to learn enough to pass the exam. And that's what I do with my class. I teach it from scratch, from the bottom up, including how to work with the clients, how to read their minds when they give you their records and the records don't make sense, how to understand what to make sense out of it and what's missing, and how to get that information out of your clients. They don't even know that they know the information. So it's kind of a lot of fun. I love reading detective stories, and this is like being a detective working with clients. So
it's kind of like a puzzle kind of thing that you get to put together. That's what it sounds like.
You can make a lot of money. You can make some serious money as long as you're not spending your time trying to attract people who, spend $50 doing their own TurboTax return or something like that. That's not who you want to become an enrolled agent to work with. You want to work with people who are in business, who have investments, or people in tax trouble. Those are the real people that we can help. People who need retirement planning, like John. People who want to set up their companies and find a way to take them to exit from their companies. An exit plan is really important in how you set that up. You need to consider both tax issues and am I going to go IPO and how do I set it up for that? So there are, and how to set up retirement plans and benefits for employees. I love being able to find win-win situations for my clients, their employees, and get paid for it.
Absolutely.
When everybody's happy,
then you're happy.
And then John has a question. Should we answer John?
Yeah, we should answer John. He's a sponsor of mine, so I kind of like to keep him happy.
Well, let's be nice. John, if you cash in your retirement savings, you're going to pay tax on it. If you're under 59 and a half, you're going to pay a penalty. It doesn't matter what you use the money for. So get older. You're just a young whippersnapper yet, right? So, and try not to cash in retirement savings to buy stocks and stuff. Try to do it within the retirement account, although you can't do that to buy stocks in your own company.
Let me ask you something. If you're selling your house, I actually have a client who's in this situation, a client of mine who's in this situation. I'm doing some work for her, and I think she's going to probably be settling next year. Is there any way to protect her money from the grubby little hands of the tax man?
Well, it depends.
The proceeds.
How long has she lived in it for at least 2 years out of the last 5?
Yes, I looked in. Okay. Yes.
So she can get the personal residence exclusion,
right,
which is worth $250,000.
Right.
Is her profit going to be more than that?
And see, that's what I don't know yet, and I figured we're probably going to have to wait till after the settlement to determine that. But will that be too late, or will we still be able to protect that money?
Settlement sounds like a divorce.
No. Till they settle on a sale.
Oh, no. You need to establish what you're going to do first. So first of all, if it's going to be a lot more than $250,000, it's a good time to get married. So if she's got a boyfriend, living with somebody, you can double that to $500,000.
Right.
Just so that they can avoid the taxes. And then if she doesn't like him, she can get divorced and give him a buyout and still save a lot of money.
Yeah, it'd still be worth it, right?
The taxes on $250,000, might be over $50,000. She can give him $10,000 to cut him loose.
Okay, hopefully the NSA isn't listening to that. I'm just kidding.
Right.
That's perfectly legal.
Just half kidding.
Yeah, right. No, and that's exactly what I thought. But I know you know way better than I do, so I figured as long as I had the expert, I would ask.
Well, what's interesting is there are a lot of provisions, in the way they have written the tax code in the last few years, where another tax kicks in if you have more than $200,000 of earnings if you're single, or $250,000 if you're married. And so that suggests, like Gina says, no more weddings, time to get divorced if you're in a high income bracket, because the tax code, Congress says you shouldn't be married. We're penalizing you for being married.
Right, I know. Who would want that? That's
so then the other side of this selling the house business. I have a friend. She has this house she's owned forever. She's been dating this guy off and on for several years, and now they're engaged. And he bought a condo a while back. And they want to get married and move in together, and he wants to get rid of their condo, and then she wants to sell her house and move to another state. Well, you can't exactly do that. If he sells that before they get married, then he can get his whole $250,000 and he's fine. But now he has to wait 2 years before he can use that exclusion again. So if they, are together and she sells her house, she has to wait that 2 years before they can both get that exclusion. And her house is well more than $250,000 because it's in California.
There you go. And they say
now we've got to manage marriages and sales.
You hate for like love to be about money. Like you don't want to consider those implications. Like you want to be you want it to be like all whimsical and romantic and all, but you be crazy not to consider those kind of numbers. I mean,
yeah,
wouldn't you?
Really? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, listen, if I was involved with a guy and it was going to cost us a cool $250,000 to get married, I'd be like, boo-boo, we engaged. I mean, come on.
But think about it. Think about the people that married because they had a lot of passion and, you admired them from a distance. They are just having the best time. They're the ones who get divorced.
You're right.
The ones who got married for reasons because they actually liked each other. Okay, they can tear their clothes off too, but they like each other. They're willing to listen to each other, and the marriage isn't going to fall apart, or the engagement isn't going to fall apart if they're truthful about, you know what, I have child support that I'm still paying, and we need to take that into account. I owe back taxes. If you're truthful about finances, you can work the details out to not endanger the marriage and the relationship, and the relationship lasts long term, like forever.
Well, wait a minute. You mean be honest?
Oh, God, what a concept. Oh, my God.
Oh, now you're just being silly. We're up against the commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about the Trump tax plan. I know you don't like to promote your books that are absolutely brilliant, but we must. We must.
Fine. We'll talk about it.
You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. I'm broadcasting live. So happy with the one and only Eva Rosenberg, Taxmama. So glad to have her on the show. 20 plus years of golden experience. You got to check her website out, taxmama.com. You are crazy if you don't. A wealth of information. We'll be back in a few moments.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. And Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Place Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EBL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. I can't believe I was just listening to that promo and I just noticed that Dave Milner, the Unpleasant Blind Guy, uses the word blinded in his own promo. Who does that? Dave Milner, the Unpleasant Blind Guy, does that. And if you know Dave Milner, if you've ever listened to his show, but if you're friends with him on Facebook, he's legally blind. He can see like a tiny bit, but he's legally blind. And that's why that's funny. He has a very twisted sense of humor, which is one of the reasons why we're friends. And I can see the people in the Facey chat. This is one of the reasons why I love having Eva Rosenberg on the show. She's in the Facey chat, just like chatting it up with the guests on the show. And those of you out there in SHR Media Land who are listening to the show, or if you're listening to the show as a download on iTunes or any of the other platforms, you're missing out if you don't join the show live and listen to the show via Facebook. Because all the interaction with the guests is just a heck of a good time. Just saying. So we're back, and we have Eva Rosenberg on the show today, and I wanted to talk to her about the Trump tax plan, her latest book that is coming out, and it's been a long time coming. It's been a long time in the making. So let's talk about it, shall we?
If you insist.
I do. I insist. I want to see you sell millions and millions of Trump tax plan books. So let's chat about it. Is it about the Trump tax plan, maybe?
Trump tax cut, your guide, your personal guide to the new tax law. I had nothing to do with either the front or the back cover, just so that you know. Turns out that my publisher is a confidant of Donald Trump. I did not know that. And he wanted to make sure that the book really promoted the aggrandizement of this magnificent and amazing tax cut that you and I have been mocking today, because how the people in the middle, the average income people, have been, excuse my English, can I say this on the air, they've gotten screwed.
You can say screwed, yes.
Okay, fine. Can we repeat that?
Yes, you can say screwed. It's a little racy for my show, but I'll allow it.
Okay, fine. But yeah, it frustrates me because people who have casualty losses or theft losses or identity theft can't take deductions anymore. And we talked about employees, and 12 million people can't take deductions anymore. And so even though they raised the standard deduction to make it simple, and they shortened the tax form, which is all a magical illusion because nothing has changed except the first 2 pages got shorter and they gave us 6 other pages to feed into it. When you're doing your tax returns in your tax software, you're going to do it exactly the way you did it before. It will just feed into a different regurgitation. So there's a lot of deception in this tax law, but there are some things that will actually work. And, the IRS is scrambling to try to make sense of it. Interestingly enough, when I wrote this book and I poured over about 2,000 pages worth of tax law that they wrote back in December and then the additional stuff in February for the extenders, I went through it, I thought, pretty thoroughly. So far, and he hasn't updated the book since I wrote it. I finished it in February. So far, I've only found 2 errors that were clarified by the IRS since then. So I did a pretty darn good job of writing the book. In fact, turns out it really is a good book, and we're setting up our own website. My web guy and Alex.
Excellent.
And we're going to be adding onto the website for people who buy the book any corrections that need to go with the book, and there won't be that many. I'm really delighted. I really am so shocked that I did such a thorough job.
Really? You're the only one, then.
Yeah, I am. And if this had come out in March like it was supposed to, it would have sold 1 million copies. So thank you for promoting it, because it's not nearly as valuable now. Now there are other people who are talking about this. But on the website, we're going to put that in there. The book doesn't contain the glossary, so we're going to have that there. And my book has all of these resources. When I originally wrote it, those aren't in the book itself either. And so we're putting those on the website. So anybody who buys the me that they've bought it will have access to the whole database where they can download all of that information, because I think there was a lot of important information that they didn't have room to put into the book.
Excellent.
But there is good stuff here, and one of the last chapters in there is chapter 14. It's what to do when you get an IRS notice, and what to do if you're a non-filer, and how to get back into the system. So there's some really practical information about how to deal with stuff.
I love it. I love it. And this is so funny because you were mentioning how it was supposed to be out in March. So I knew the book was coming out, and I wanted Taxmama to re-up her sponsorship. So I did a little ad for her, and I sent it to her for the book. And I said, surprise, here's your new ad for the book. She's like, yeah, it's not coming out yet.
Yes, they were promising every 2 weeks. They were promised they were changing the date the book was going to be issued. Then they stopped doing it. They stopped saying anything at all. So it was really a surprise to me when I heard from my publisher that they were actually issuing it, and I didn't believe it until I got it in my hands last week.
Oh my goodness!
So we are now shipping to my students that had ordered it.
Oh, congratulations! Listen, I want to make sure I get this question in real fast before. Is the book on Amazon yet? Like, can you pre-order or anything like that?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
So you can pre-order on Amazon. Tell us the title one more time. Is it there? Like, can I post a link?
It's probably on my website, but it's the Trump. Just search for the Trump tax cut on Amazon, and you'll find it.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure I get a link. Okay, I want to make sure I get Gina's question in about whether or not marijuana is like a cool thing to invest in. What was the question? I copied and pasted it.
Gina's question was really good. What do I think about investing in marijuana, in the marijuana industry? And we now have, he's in New Jersey, he said, that's a pretty active state in one way or another.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And marijuana is going to be like the Wild West. So the right companies, there are a lot of companies that are opening up to invest in various parts of the marijuana industry. So the federal laws on marijuana don't have it being legalized. So all of the companies that are actively producing and selling marijuana can't use most of their administrative expenses. I teach a class on what you can and can't do and how to maximize those deductions as it happens. But one of my friends friends was telling me she's been investing in the industry, and what she's been investing in are companies that deal with peripherals. They deal with the suppliers of the various things that go towards doing the farming, towards distribution, towards handling the funds, towards providing security. All of those companies are not actually touching marijuana products, and there is no problem with any of those deductions. So if you want to invest in a company that's going to keep making a lot of money and doesn't have a tax issue, those are the marijuana companies to look at. I thought when she told me that, that was the direction to go. That's a great idea.
I love it, and I can't believe we got that in, and I found a link and posted it in the Facey chat, and we are right at the perfect time to end. Thank you so much for being on the show. You did a fantastic job. Just great. Fantastic. Thank you so very much for being on the show. You rock.
Thank you for calling me, and you guys, all of you, with your great questions. Thanks. You're right on the ball, and Doug, always wonderful to see you.
Wonderful to talk to you. You did a fantastic job. The second hour is going to be a re-air of Burgess. Oh, that's the only reason why I'm rushing, because I already uploaded the re-air. So I have to end on time. The re-air is Burgess Owens, Why We Stand. It's going to start at 6:05. Thank you so much, Eva Rosenberg, a.k.a. the Taxmama, for being on the show tonight. Thank you, everybody in the Facey chat, all of you guys out there in SHR Media Land. If you're listening on iTunes or any other podcast platforms, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Remember, all of this is very important because, after all, it's your money. Have a fantastic weekend.
Ta-da!
What was...